Somewhere in the isolated Australian outback, John Grant is a young teacher in a one-room schoolhouse. He intends to spend a holiday break in Sydney with his girlfriend and sets out by train. A stop off in the mining town of Bundinyaba begins a derailment of John's trip in the short term and much more in the beyond. Copious amounts of drinking, boorish toxic masculinity, and real kangaroo slaughter are on full display. Released originally in the early 70s, a properly restored Wake and Fright was almost lost forever when the original negative was discovered only a week before a scheduled incineration. Fans of downer movies about the fragility of our modern civilized nature can all rejoice at the salvation and gorgeous restoration of Wake and Fright. For this episode, we watched Wake and Fright, and since it was my choice, I want to ask Shane how he felt about it. And so, Shane, what did you feel about it?
I liked this one a lot.
Of course, I knew that you would.
I'm not going to do It's an in-joke. It's an in-joke. Why did you think that?
I just felt this one was right up your alley for some reason, which I cannot articulate.
Okay, well, actually, this movie reminded me of two movies that I like quite a bit. Yeah. Both of them are David Fincher movies. The Game and Fight Club. Both of those movies dealt with people that have this kind of mundane existence they're kind of bored with, and they need something to kind of rattle them out. And it's this movie, but this movie is a step above those because and The Game and Fight Club, the how they break out of it is a little unbelievable. But in Wake and Fright, it is totally believable.
Yeah. One of the great things about this film is its believability. Absolutely. And so, so I did have a strong feeling that you would like this one. Okay. Because this is, you could say it's a dark film, and both of us have a penchant for, like darker things, especially darker things about human nature. And this film was nearly lost. It was made...
Yeah, because I mean, I haven't even heard of it until you introduced me to it. So
yeah, I didn't hear about it until Netflix. This was a great Netflix find. But like I was saying, it was almost a lost film. It was made by a Canadian director who also went on to make First Blood and Weekend at Bernie's, and so diverse range of films there.
Yeah, I don't see that at all.
The Weekend at Bernie's, I don't either. But anyway, this was not exactly a well-liked film in Australia. Maybe hit a little too close to home for some people. It made the rounds at the time, but was kind of forgotten. And the story that I've been able to find out about it is that there was one copy of it that was known to exist, but was considered not high quality enough for a DVD or Blu-ray transfer. So the original editor of the film sought out the negatives and actually was able to find them in, I think, somewhere in Pittsburgh about a week before they were scheduled to be destroyed.
And that's always death for a film. The negative falls in the hands of creditors. They don't know what to do with it. They use it maybe for paying off some other debt, and it's passed around, and the film was worthless.
Oh, I read something that when this film was screened in Australia the first time, an audience member got up and said, "That's not us." Okay. He's like, "That's not us, mate."
Right.
And one of the actors from the film got up and was like, "That is us. Sit down."
Is this legit, or are you just riffing?
Wikipedia. Is Wikipedia legit?
When it opened in Australia, I think the Australians kind of responded badly to what they thought was a kind of a unsympathetic depiction of the Aussie male.
This has become one of my favorite movies. Go on. Yeah, I was just gonna say it was like so I found it on Netflix. It was recommended to me. It was I watched a fair amount of horror movies, and it was billed as a horror movie. It's definitely not a traditional horror movie, although it is horrific, I would say.
Right. I mean, the reason I kind of like horror movies, but I don't love them. There are certain ones.
Not the extent that I do.
Not the extent that you do, and one of the reasons why horror movies don't really work for me is because of the supernatural element in horror movies.
Yeah, no supernatural element in this one whatsoever.
Fuck no.
I feel like we should talk about Donald Pleasance before we get too much into this, though. Sure. Wasn't this the greatest fucking Donald Pleasance role?
I don't know. I actually think his episode of Columbo is still better.
I guess I have to see it.
Yeah, there's something about that. Okay, go on.
But can we agree that he's the fucking shit in this?
Yeah, very, very strong, and I think he's the libertine.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he is he's the Ron Paul. No.
No. I don't want to go that far.
Okay. Congressman, are you saying the society should just let him die?
What this film is really about is that John Grant is, for all intents and purposes in this film, he is a modern civilized gentleman, an academic.
That's never made a white jacket look as cool.
And he's a very attractive man.
Very.
Gary Bond is a beautiful man.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's kind of perfect looking. Yeah.
He's fucking statuesque.
Right.
Just looks amazing in this film. And also gives a fucking incredible performance. You have to say that. So with the overall theme of the film, Gary Bond, or John Grant in the film, represents civilized man.
Okay.
He goes to this mining town, Bundinyaba, and there he finds these really boorish, aggressively hospitable louts.
Alcoholics.
Alcoholics.
The whole fucking town.
The amount of alcohol consumed in this fucking film is probably as much beer as I drink in a year. But anyway, that's part of the assimilation process.
Right.
You're basically forced to drink.
It's they ask, but it's not really it's not a question. It's kind of
there is something sinister behind every request for a beer. That is, if you do not accept, then you are. Why would you not accept? Are you too good to drink beer with me? Like, you must be like an outsider.
All the little devils are proud of hell.
Do you mean you don't think the Yabba is the greatest little place on earth?
Could be worse.
How?
Supply of beer could run out. Hey, aren't you going to eat that?
No. Why did you say that?
Say what?
What about them being proud of hell?
Discontent is a luxury of the well-to-do. You gotta live here, you might as well like it. Why don't you like Crawford?
Joe?
The touch of his hairy hand offended you.
I'm full with it. The aggressive hospitality, the arrogance of stupid people who insist you should be as stupid as they are.
It's death to farm out here. It's worse than death in the mines. You want them to sing opera as well?
And what do you do?
I drink.
That starts some of the checking of John Grant in that he comes in thinking that he is better than all of these people, and through the course of the film he is shown to not be any better whatsoever. His civilization, like his civilized mentality, completely dissolves to the point where he, if you can see it as like a descent into hell, some would characterize it as that. I would see it as like a descent into some self-destructive working class behaviors by a pretentious academic. and that's part of why I love this film. He's kind of a representation of a higher class of people, of like middle class mentality, even though he himself, he has aspirations of getting out of his bondage, but and maybe being middle class as a teacher, but he sees the job as beneath him. He sees the people as beneath him, and he finds out through all of his associations and just every time that he gives in to their aggressive hospitality, each time he sinks further and further into the kind of behavior that he disdains. And he really, I think, at the point where he kills a baby kangaroo, I think he really is like, that's kind of the low point where, right, for him, where he's basically not just new to the Yaba anymore. He is the Yaba at that point.
He must, obviously, some level, he wants to do these things, but that's what I put myself into characters and like, I'm fucking out of here. I'm not sticking around. I'm out. I am out. I don't care.
I know. At what point would you have been out?
I would have been out. I would have been out just someone trying to make me drink. I've left places where people try to make me drink.
Well, but you don't drink.
I don't drink. But I mean, it's like I'd be like, yeah, fuck this, man. I don't. This is too.
See, I would have probably gone down the same exact path.
Okay.
Because somebody would have started me drinking, and I would have blacked out, and then I would have probably fucking ended up with a fucking kangaroo in my ass. or Donald Pleasance's mouth on your wiener.
Come on, come and have a drink.
Look, mate, I've given up drinking for a while.
What's wrong with you, bastard? Why don't you come and drink with me? I just brought you 50 miles late and doesn't you want to drink with me?
Look,
what's wrong with you?
What's the matter with you people, huh? You sponge on you burn your house down, murder your wife, rape your child, that's all right. Not have a drink with you, not have a flaming bloody drink with you, that's a criminal offense, that's the end of the bloody world.
Is Donald Pleasance, is Doc a rapist in this film? Does he rape John Grant?
Oh, yes.
We think he definitely does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hang on.
The best way to articulate why this film is disturbing is that it shows the fragility of a civilized mindset.
Right.
That underneath that we are fucking animals. We are base. We are dirty. We fucking fuck the shit out of shit. Fucking drink the shit out of shit. And we're just and all of this like modernization and civilization, and this is all a social construct.
Okay.
But underneath it, we have these base desires, and I think that's for me to see that kind of a dissent from somebody.
But going back to earlier, if you were in a situation like you said, you would take this leap.
Oh, I already have. Many times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm very in tune with the duality of myself.
Okay.
I'm very in tune with my sort of base nature, but also with my more civilized nature. And like I try to be self-aware enough to listen to both. And I hope that my more civilized, empathetic, socially conscious self wins out.
Right.
Does it all the time? No, and I have to deal with that. And I think that's true for about everybody. We all fuck up.
The reason why it's effective is because these are things that could easily happen. The people, like you said,
they do happen.
They do happen.
Mm-hmm.
People make a decision and go down a path, and whether it's right or wrong, like you can learn from it. You can gain some insight. You could gain some perspective.
Yeah. From
doing such things, but there will always be consequences.
Yeah. Yeah. You can actually spin it in a positive way, like that. That maybe John Grant needed to get checked.
What about another beer?
Thanks, Mr. Gordon.
I feel very strongly about this film. I think it's a very well shot, well acted film.
Oh, the score is good too.
Thank you for mentioning that because the score is fucking great.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very memorable. That the theme that plays over the beginning especially is really cool. It's a little bit spaghetti western.
Right.
And strangely like a little bit Radiohead. I think this film has aged very well. I think it's still very powerful. Has things to say that are about always going to be relevant, and I'm very glad that it was not burned in a fire, and we have it today.
Right.
Yes.
And I'll just say that if a movie gets an endorsement from Martin Scorsese and Nick Cave, how can you hate it?
Absolutely. Yes, and sadly died of AIDS. What's funny about that?
You just pulled a Norm Macdonald off. You totally did. You totally did. Oh, God damn it. Fuck. But if you want an experience like this, go to Briar Patch on 104, probably between midnight and 3 a.m. any given night.
Who the fuck's that?